My name is Emily. I'm 38 years old. I watched my husband and sister-in-law try to poison the wrong person at our family breakfast on purpose. Before I tell you how I got them to say they did it on camera, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. It was one of those perfect sunny Sunday mornings in Charlotte. The kind of day that looks really pretty from inside the house, but feels awful when you know you have to spend it with family members you can't stand. We were at my sister-in-law Laura's house for our monthly breakfast. It was always less like eating together and more like being in trouble, where I was always the one getting blamed for things. My husband Mark walked over to me with a big fake smile on his face. He gave me a coffee cup with special coffee. "Honey, this is just for you," he said with a mean little smile. I took it and smelled something weird and metallic. I looked at Laura, who was watching us. Her smile looked sharp and mean, too. They both had this look like they were sharing a secret joke that I wasn't part of. I looked down at the 2 coffee cups. They were from the same expensive set. They looked exactly the same, white cups with pretty blue flowers on them. But I knew something they didn't know. I had been studying these cups for months. I knew that under Laura's favorite cup, there was a tiny scratch that you could barely see. She made it when she dropped the cup once. My heart wasn't beating fast because I was scared. It was beating with the cold, steady beat of a clock counting down. I wasn't just a guest at that breakfast. I was like the director of a play, and the last part was about to start. To understand why I didn't just throw that coffee in his face, you need to know what happened the night before. I couldn't sleep. For 3 years, I had been getting these weird sicknesses. Sudden, really bad stomach problems right before a big job interview. Terrible headaches the day I had to give an important presentation at work. Mark always said it was just because I was stressed. Laura would pat my arm and say, "Oh, you poor thing, you just worked too hard." They made me feel like I was going crazy, like I was weak. But that night, something inside me finally broke. Mark was sleeping and snoring next to me. I just couldn't shake this bad feeling about the breakfast we were going to have. I quietly got out of bed and went to the closet where he had hung his coat from earlier that day. My hands were shaking. I'm not going to lie, I felt gross going through his pockets like some kind of spy. And then I found it. A tiny glass bottle with no label on it, the kind they used for eye drops. It was filled with a clear liquid that looked a little oily. My blood went cold. I went to his laptop computer. My heart was pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. It took me 3 tries to guess his password. It was our wedding anniversary. How mean is that? I went straight to his email and looked at what he had been buying online. And there it was. Proof that he had ordered something. It was from a weird-looking website for something called Tranquility Drops. The description said it was a powerful plant medicine that makes people sleepy and calm for anxiety and stress. My stomach felt sick. I took a picture of the little bottle and the email on my phone. Then I sent it to my best friend, Sarah. Sarah isn't just my friend. She works with lawyers, and she thinks about evidence and proof. She called me right away. Her voice was low and serious. "Em, are you okay?" "I found it, Sarah," I whispered. I was crying now. "I knew it. I'm not crazy."
"Listen to me," she said. Her voice changed from worried friend to someone who works with the law. "I believe you, but just having a feeling doesn't help you anywhere. A little bottle you found could be explained away somehow. You need proof. Real proof that no one can argue with. You need them to say they did it, Emily. You need them to confess." That word, confess, kept playing in my head. For years, I'd been someone bad things happened to. I'd been scared and confused, but hearing Sarah say that made something inside me get hard and strong. The fear turned into something cold and hard like a diamond. She was right. The time for crying was over. It was time to get smart. The next day, back at the breakfast, I held that special coffee in my hands. The air felt thick with fake happiness. Laura was talking and talking about her new charity committee. Sometimes she would look at me in a mean way. "Emily, you look so tired. That big Sterling project at work must be just killing you." she said. The fake caring in her voice made me sick. Mark said, "Drink your coffee, honey. It'll help you relax." I smiled sweetly. "You're right." I stood up holding my cup, and then I tripped. It wasn't a big dramatic fall, just a little stumble that made me lurch forward. My other hand was holding a glass of orange juice, and it went flying. The juice flew through the air and landed right on Laura's perfect white silk shirt. She screamed. It was a sound of pure anger. "My shirt! It's ruined!" Mark, of course, jumped up. "Oh my God, Laura, let me help you." Everyone was looking at Laura and the orange stain spreading across her chest. And in that moment, when everyone was distracted and looking at her, I had my chance. My hands didn't shake. I moved with a calm feeling I didn't know I had. I put my cup, the one with the bad coffee, down on the table right where Laura had been sitting. And I picked up her cup, the one with the tiny scratch I knew was there, and put it where I had been sitting. It took less than 10 seconds. When all the drama was over and everyone sat back down, the switch was complete. The trap was set. A few minutes later, I said I needed to leave the table. "I think all that excitement gave me a headache. I'm just going to go to the car to get some medicine," I said. It was a perfect excuse, but I didn't go to the car. I walked straight to Laura's home office. It was one of those fancy studies with dark wood and leather chairs. This was Mark's special place whenever we came over, his hideaway when things got stressful or when he was bored with family talk. This is where he would come to pour himself a glass of expensive alcohol from Laura's collection. I knew his habits. I walked over to the bookshelf, pulled out my phone, and stuck it between two thick books. The camera part was peeking out with the perfect view of the drink area and the two leather chairs in front of it. I hit record. As a backup, I had also turned on a secret recording app on Mark's phone earlier that week, just in case. I had planned for everything. I took a deep breath, smoothed down my dress, and walked back to the dining room with the calm, normal look on my face. All I had to do now was wait. We were making small talk, the kind that feels like chewing on sand. I was just pushing a piece of fruit around on my plate. My ears were listening for the smallest sound. 20 minutes went by, then 25, and then it started. Laura, who had been talking and being the center of attention, suddenly went quiet. She put a hand to her head. Her fork clattered onto her plate. "Laura, are you all right, dear?" her mother asked. Laura's face was pale, and she was starting to sweat on her forehead. I feel dizzy," she said with a shaky voice. Her hand began to shake, a fine shaking she couldn't control. She tried to take a sip of water, but her hand was shaking so badly she could barely lift the glass. Mark shot up from his chair. His face looked panicked, and he made his first mistake. He ran to her, not to me, his wife. He ran straight to his sister. "Laura," he said. His voice was high and scared. "Laura!" She looked up at him. Her eyes were wide and confused. She was gasping now. Her breathing was fast and shallow. "Mark," she panted, "what did you put in there? What did you do?" And then came the second mistake, the big one. In his terror, he forgot where he was. He leaned in close, whispering harshly, but not quietly enough. "It's just the drops, the stuff I got. I did what you said to get her foggy for the Sterling meeting." Laura's eyes got even wider, but now with anger. "You idiot," she hissed. Her voice was full of hate, even though she was sick. "I said a few drops, not the whole bottle. You gave me the whole bottle." And that's when I walked in. I stood in the doorway of the dining room, holding my phone. The screen was glowing. The little red recording light was blinking steadily. I didn't need to raise my voice. I didn't have to. The sudden quiet was louder than any shout. "I think the police," I said. My voice was perfectly level and calm. "And the people at Sterling will find this recording very interesting." The color went away from Mark's face completely. Laura just stared with her mouth hanging open. It was a look of pure frozen horror. Checkmate. The next 10 minutes were crazy and chaotic. Someone called 911. Paramedics came and started helping Laura, who was now crying hysterically. The family was running around, confused and horrified. And then Detective Harper arrived. She was a woman in her 50s with tired eyes that had seen everything. She looked at the scene, the sick woman, the panicked husband, the shocked family. And then she looked at me. "Ma'am, can you tell me what's going on here?"
The old Emily would have been crying. She would have been shaking. But I wasn't her anymore. I calmly walked over and handed the detective a brown folder I brought with me. "In here, detective," I said, "you'll find a recording of my husband and sister-in-law confessing to drugging my coffee. You'll also find a printout of an email receipt for the drug they used, photos of the bottle it came in, and my personal journal from the last 3 years. It details every mysterious illness I've had, matched up with every major career event they tried to ruin." Detective Harper's eyebrows shot up. She opened the folder. Her expression changed from tired doubt to sharp focus. Mark, seeing his life falling apart before his eyes, rushed over to me. "Emily, please," he begged. His voice was cracking. "Don't do this. We can fix this." I didn't even look at him. I reached into my purse, pulled out the empty glass bottle I'd found in his coat, and handed it to Detective Harper. "Ask him what this is," I said. Then I turned my back on him and on that entire part of my life for the very last time. The weeks that followed were hard, but they were also freeing. Sarah, my amazing friend, helped me deal with everything. "They took a deal, Em," she told me over coffee about a month later. "Attempted assault, conspiracy. They had no choice. Your documentation was perfect. It wasn't just a recording. It was a conspiracy case you gift wrapped for the district attorney. You didn't get lucky, Em. You were smart." Hearing that word, smart, not lucky, felt like the sun coming out after a long winter. Mark and Laura lost everything. Their reputations were ruined. They were facing probation and massive community service hours. The family, of course, was in pieces. But that wasn't my problem anymore. My problem was the Sterling Project. 3 months after that terrible breakfast, I wasn't just presenting to the Sterling board. I was commanding the room. I felt clear-headed, powerful, and completely in control. We won the account. It was the biggest win of my career. My boss, Mr. Davies, shook my hand. His eyes were filled with respect. "Incredible work, Emily. Truly incredible." But the real victory came later. It came in the quiet moments in my new apartment, a place that was all mine, a place where I knew the food was safe, where the air was clean. It came from sipping a cup of tea that I had made for myself, looking out at the Charlotte skyline and feeling peace. A deep, real peace I hadn't felt in years. I was finally safe. I was finally free. I often think back to that day. They tried to write me as someone bad things happened to in their twisted little story. They wanted to make me small, sick, and scared. They never imagined that I would pick up the pen and write my own ending. Today, my laptop is open in front of me. I'm not looking back at legal documents or angry text messages. I'm preparing. I've been asked to give a keynote speech at a women's business conference, and I know exactly what I'm going to call it. The title on the screen reads, "Becoming the Author of Your Own Life." Thank you all so much for listening to my story. It wasn't easy to share, but I felt like I needed to. My question for you is, have you ever had a moment where you had to stop being the victim and take control of your own story? I'd love to read about it in the comments. And if my story touched you, please give this video a like and subscribe for more. It really helps the channel out. Thank you.